What is up? Welcome to our first edition of a doubleheader. What's up, hoop heads? And Merry Draft Eve. If you don't know me by now, I just told you on the last episode, and I know you're watching this one, but it's your boy JB from Undrafted Hoops, and welcome to another edition of Undrafted Offseason Block Party. We're going to dive right into the San Antonio Spurs with the number one pick. But before we get started, I got to give a shout out to Let's Talk Sports Network. What's up, Gary? And I also want to give a shout out to the Hardcore Sports Network for bringing us on board to talk hoops on their network on YouTube. So make sure you subscribe to their networks also. On top of our YouTube Undrafted Hoops, smash the subscribe button. Also, Facebook, Twitter, Undrafted Hoops _ on Twitter. Make sure you like us, follow us, retweet us, share, comment, all of the above. We need all of it, and we appreciate all of it. But, Gary, what's up? Where's my man Josh? He ain't hiding, is he? Where's he at?
Somewhere
Looking.
hiding.
Oh, he's changing it up. Oh, musical chairs on this motherfucker.
What's up, guys?
So look, we're gonna dive right in here. I'm gonna turn my volume up. It's a little low for me. We're gonna dive right into San Antonio Spurs, and as I do this, I bust it out. The big number one, Coach Popovich.
King of number one picks.
Dude, they've been, 4 times in their career have they been under a 24-win team, and all 4 times they get the number one draft pick. This is Greg Popovich, bro, when they did the lottery.
It was David Robinson and Tim Duncan and Victor Wembanyama. Who was number 4, though?
Must have been the one.
That's a good trivia question. Well. I'm gonna dive in and look at that. You might be right. It might only be 3, but I swear it was a 4th. But right now, I'm not on board with it. What I want to touch on, something I came across today. Obviously, this was the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes, and he's going to be the number one pick tomorrow, no doubt. But this is an interesting stat, and I'm curious on how you think the next 13 years are going to be, because this is the first time in the last 13 seasons a freshman out of college wasn't selected with the number one pick.
Wow.
Interesting, correct?
That is interesting.
Now, with the game being as global as it is, Giannis, Joel Embiid, Jokic, Luka, you have all these stars, right? Is this a trend that we're going down with guys being able to come out almost instantly out of high school, 1-year option, global basketball taking off beyond comprehension? Is this something that over the next 13 years, that ain't going to happen again, where a college freshman is just we're trending away from that now, correct?
Yeah, and I think they're gonna fully go back to the rule, right? Like where you can just get drafted out of high school. I think because they bridged that since then with you can do 1 year with the G League, or college, and that's kind of a little bit of like what Wembanyama did in a way, but yeah, like you said, it's not going to just be all college freshmen. The game's changed, and there's too much talent for you to put these arbitrary rules on that. But whether you're 18 or 19,
just like kids make money, man. At the point, at some of the best players in the history of the NBA came right from high school.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're at a point where the game is so youth-driven that if a team wants to take a kid out of high school and say, we're going to put all our chips in this kid's basket and let him be the face of our franchise. Just let it happen at this point, right? I mean, we have this unbelievable talent. I want to touch on Victor a little bit without overdoing it on the show. We've all seen so much stuff from this kid. Tony G, when we discussed Victor Wembanyama before, he touted him as the best prospect he's ever seen. He's just over 30 years old now. And he's been a diehard basketball fan for at least since I've known him, 22 years. He says it's the best prospect he's ever seen. Now, your concerns are probably the same as everybody else's. Gary, I'll start with you, then I'm going to bounce right over to you, Josh. His strength is an issue. And obviously, we're trending to a positionless NBA where the best 5 players play on the court at the same time. Where do you see Victor? He's going to be defending most of the bigs, either a 4 or 5, but any traditional 5 with some strength is going to push this kid around. What's your first take on in terms of the cons of this kid, coming in? Obviously, everybody talks about the pros, but let's touch on some of the stuff that are probably going to bother him to start, in his first NBA season.
I mean, yeah, the strength, the size is definitely going to be an issue. I mean, you're going to be going against huge grown men. Like, imagine Giannis backing him down. That's not some random guy over in Europe. Not saying that there's not talent over there, because there's definitely talent there as well.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not
grown men over there.
But every time I think of things like that, I also think, like, he's just so tall and so big, and he's so good. Like, even if you manage to back him down, he's 7'4", with a humongous wingspan that can easily still get up there and block shots. He's going to cause trouble for them with shots. But yeah, I mean, I think through his first year, he's going to get worn down, through physicality. That's probably going to be a little issue, maybe a little tough on him, but they know that, and he's going to be in the weight room, and that's going to be their number one priority, is getting him built up. But the game has,
Josh, do you think that
finesse?
Do you think that? Sorry, Gary.
No, I was gonna say the game's just moved towards.
Yeah, the game's more wide open for him.
So he'll find a way to fit in and make it work.
He's definitely got the right coach for it. And Gary, you touched on. I'm coming right over to you, Josh. Gary, you touched on his length. He has an 8-foot wingspan.
Just unheard of.
Like, say that to yourself 3 times in the mirror and try not to laugh like Josh just did.
Yeah, you back him down. He's still got that giant arm coming over top.
So Josh, do you agree with us about strength going to be a concern out of the gate with him?
No, for exactly what you guys just said about speaking on his length. He's measured, I think, most recently at 7'4", right, and then an 8-foot wingspan.
Yeah,
sure. If you're 6'10", body him up and back him down, he's still going to have the length over top to contest your shot and possibly block it. Even if you're using your muscle and strength, like it's one of those neutralizers, I think, where he even had a quote with the NBA draft media, like either today or yesterday, where they said something about him putting on muscle, and he's like, well, maybe people got to get skinny, So I like the confidence,
Yes, absolutely. He's going to the best possible place to utilize his strengths. And I think Coach Pop is going to this team has a lot of promising talent, but they do have a lot of holes, and they're very young. Something I'm looking at here, and I want to make sure I bring this up. There's been rumors floated that, yes, everybody's just stamped Victor Wembanyama #1 pick, but there's been rumblings that San Antonio actually might try and move back into the lottery and take his teammate over in France, the guard. I got to pull up a mock draft. I don't want to butcher his name.
No way.
His actual teammate. Man, I'm going to pull it up. Don't mind me. Sorry.
No, but they won't do that. Not a million years.
Well, I actually disagree with you, Josh, because I'm looking at
back on number one.
No. I'm saying to trade future picks to move back into the lottery
I got you.
and pair somebody with them. Why not his actual teammate? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Victor's been quoted saying that this kid, from what he's played with, he's as skilled guard as he's played with or played against. And another thing with San Antonio is, listen to this as I break down the next couple years. They have 3 number 1 picks next year. They have 3 number 1 picks in 2025. They have 2 in 2026, 2 in 2027, and 2 in 2028. So when we break down the San Antonio Spurs team, we're looking at the prized possession in Victor, but we're looking at a team that is going to be young together over the next 3 or 4 years. Victor tweeted that his teammates should go in the top 5. Tony, in the comments, put his name. 7'2" wingspan. I'm drawing a dead blank on it, and I'm embarrassed to say that. But this team is on the cusp of building something huge with their youth movement and the amount of picks that they have. Do you see it? Getting a guy like Victor instantly makes you better. I hope we all can agree with that.
Yeah.
This is a win differential player. With me telling you how many picks they have, do you think it does make sense to go out and get somebody at the same time that you already seen work with the kid? Right?
Mm-hmm. No, I think it's a smart move as far as all of the things you said about playing together, but also it just further adds to him just making this kid as comfortable as possible in year one. They've already got videos of him after games signing Spurs jersey and stuff. So he's got his mind set on San Antonio. So now you're going through that rookie year, you're in game 20 or something, and you're in your own head. You can look to your side and see your teammate that you've been playing with for the past few years. It's just that added layer, I think, and then on top of that, besides the comfort, you just have the fact that player is obviously a talented addition to the group as well.
Absolutely, it's not you're not reaching for a guy, you're reaching for a prospect that
it's not just to coddle the guy. He's also a great player himself.
Absolutely. Gary, I want to move on from Victor a little bit because obviously that's the biggest story of the offseason. Scoot should be our pick, but we have many guards. Wemby can be the next Sam Bowie. Delete that. I love interaction, but dude, Victor is not Sam Bowie. He is a next level talent that we haven't seen in a while. He's being compared to Kevin Durant, but he has the opportunity to be like Kevin Durant and Giannis had a kid. And I know that sounds ridiculous, and he is 20 years old, 19, and things can happen, but this kid has the mindset to succeed, and I'm fully behind that. And he's going to the perfect place to succeed. Now, Gary, he's going to a team that won 22 games last season. Okay. They obviously went into the tank later in the season, but they do have some fun players that are going to be part of this rebuild. And the first guy I want to touch on is my boy. I love Keldon Johnson. He had a big year last year as the number 1 option on the team. He obviously won't be the number 1 option on the team next year. But do you find him to be a good complementary player for Victor? Because, he's going to probably play a lot of the 4, Keldon, 3 and 4. He plays small forward. So you're going to see a lot of sets with, obviously, these guys are going to probably play 30, 33 minutes together. Do you like his fit next to Giannis? I mean, next to Victor. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I think Keldon's definitely a great fit for them. You know, last year I think he averaged what was it, like 20 points per game,
22.
22 points per game. Yeah, I knew he played pretty well, and even with Victor coming in, he could probably still put up just as many shots, maybe just a little less a game, even with Victor, because they're going to be playing to win this year. They're not going to be playing for Victor, you know. So I think it's going to change up. Plus, he's locked up for the next 4 years, I believe. I think he's signed through 2027. So that's going to definitely mean he's part of that rebuild with him. I think that he's a great fit for the team. You know, he played for Team USA. He's been around great talent before. You know, that shows that they consider him a top talent if he was picked to go there. I like Keldon Johnson. He's a great defender, great offensive player. He's definitely a Popovich type of guy. So yeah, I think he's definitely there for the long haul.
Josh, I want to ask you the same thing about Keldon, but I want to bring this up real quick. In his first 4 seasons, he went from 9 points a game to 12.8 to 17 to 22. Obviously, great progression. You know, he's carried the brunt of the team's usage on his shoulders. Is there anybody that you kind of like for this team going forward, or are you 3 guys are going to make up the future of this Spurs roster right now for the future?
You mean like as far as like bringing in, like adding like another person in free agency or something, or?
Yeah, is it too early for that, or is it too early to consider bringing anybody in to pair with these guys?
I think that, like, to me, like, unless they can like use some of this like large amount of youth that they have to like swing a deal for a real player, like my dream scenario would be them trading for Damian Lillard. But I just don't think that. I don't know if the Blazers are going to trade Lillard. But anyways, I digress there. I was just looking up and down the Spurs roster right now. They've got so much youth and so much flexibility, and I'm thinking about these lineups with like Zach Collins and Wembanyama and Jeremy Sochan, who's 19 years old, and all these players. They're gonna be able to run some really interesting young lineups. And I know you said that like maybe Keldon Johnson isn't the number one option this year, and you might be right about that, but I don't know if that means that his averages drop off significantly, because if you add in Wembanyama into that lineup, he's getting a lot better looks. So,
yeah, and I'm happy you touched on that, because his 3-point percentage went from 40% the year before to 32%, and a lot of that is because teams are fading their defense, in his direction. He's shooting threes at shooting maybe 5 or 6 attempts a game. With a guy like Victor pulling some of that attention, yes, his shot attempts might go down, but his efficiency might go up. And that kind of is the balance that a guy like Victor, who demands that much attention, he opens things up for your other players. So you might even see something else in his game get unlocked that you weren't able to see as a number one option.
Yeah.
Gary, you had touched on Devin Vassell in the chat. You had touched on him being in an expiring deal. This is his last year. Dude, a guy like that who is playing for a new contract, man, talk about opening up your game. Guys tend to turn it up a little bit when they're playing for a new contract. He averaged 18.5 points last year. Josh had mentioned the youth movement in San Antonio. There's another guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they can keep that core together, they're pretty well built for the future going forward, developing together. Also, not to go off topic, I just got an update about something. One of my friends texted me saying he's heartbroken that the Celtics traded Marcus Smart.
No.
So I don't know if they traded Marcus Smart for Porzingis.
Oh, break that news for me, Gary.
I'm not positive. I don't want to swipe off of here, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened. Porzingis got traded for Marcus Smart, but
no, the Celtics are trading Marcus Smart to the Grizzlies as part of the deal. What?
What?
yeah,
No,
I knew it was
no.
something crazy.
Oh man,
Josh, break that news for us on here.
all right.
What's
the Grizzlies are sending a 2023 and 2024 first round pick to the Celtics. The Grizzlies are sending number 25 and 24. 25 on Thursday night and 2024 pick from Golden State for Smart.
Wow, that's a big trade for.
And Porzingis goes to the Celtics?
That's not a part of that.
Yeah. That's so weird.
That's
for
just
Boston
straight up Marcus Smart
trade.
getting traded to the Grizzlies for picks.
That is weird for Boston to do.
Whoa, that is big. And I know we're on the Spurs talk right now, but we have to touch on that as an initial reaction.
Yeah, and Washington is completing a 3-way deal with Boston and Memphis that will send guard Tyus Jones to the Wizards. And that's the Porzingis trade.
Let's go, Wizards! Tyus Jones, bro, that is a big move. You said I wouldn't care what they got back, and you are dead wrong. That is you got the point guard you wanted.
Yeah, no, I'm happy with Tyus Jones for sure. I don't know, man. I feel for them Boston fans. I feel like they're going to be upset, but they should be happy because Marcus Smart's not a point guard. He's not a point guard. I think Porzingis is a much bigger.
Yeah, but he's an energy guy for that Celtics team.
I'm almost not mad at Boston for moving Smart though.
Yeah, it's just an interesting trade. It was unexpected. It's definitely.
I do love Porzingis. So I do love Porzingis there. I think that's a home run for them. But let's before we jump right back on the Spurs. Before we do, we talk about Boston losing out on Marcus Smart or trading him. A guy that they coveted over the last couple of years. Let's talk about the Memphis Grizzlies for 1 second. Because they lose Dylan Brooks, who is their defensive guy, gritty, set the tone when the team needs a jump start. Marcus Smart is a tremendous upgrade there.
They got 2 defensive years in the lineup now.
Yeah. That team just improved drastically.
Yeah.
In the last hour.
Adding Marcus Smart actually adds to the toughness factor that they've been trying to put a facade on for the past year and puffing their chests out and trying to seem like they're these tough guys when they're not. I think adding Marcus Smart to that nucleus actually gives that a little more legitimacy.
And especially with the John Morant suspension, 25 games without him.
And he's a good leader to bring into that group too, because he's already been through some playoff runs with the Celtics, and he has some experience with that. So,
yes,
Boston
and
another move up in their sleeve to play point guard.
No, I mean they got Brog. They're going to keep Brogdon.
I mean, they were
Brogdon, Derek White, Jaylen Brown.
Point guard though.
Yeah, I mean. Whatever. That's my brain is spinning now. I'm thinking about.
They keeping Peyton Pritchard, letting him start.
No, there was other Woj news though.
Middleton
declined his player option. Declined his $40 million player option.
That's surprising.
Wow.
A lot of
Middleton's going to become a free agent.
I mean, I fully expect him to stay in Milwaukee. But I'm assuming this is for cap flexibility, and he maybe signs for 4 years, $30 million a season type of deal, and it maybe frees up a little bit of money because remember, Brook Lopez is a free agent, and I know Milwaukee does not want to lose that man. So look, sorry we were derailed on the Spurs chat, but justifiable. There's some big moves that I actually can't wait to end the show and do a reel on some of these trades because they're big moves in the league. I'm assuming Marcus Smart had to be traded for salary purposes in order to bring Porzingis' $36 million to their cap. So I'm definitely gonna dive in and sharpen my pencil for that thought. Let's go back to the Spurs for a minute. They won 22 games last year, and adding a guy like Victor, we just said, is a defensive win differential. I'm not finding the over-under on wins for them next season, but I'm curious. What is your
32.5?
32.5. I'm saying, without even thinking about it, I'm saying over. But Josh, are you smashing over?
Yeah.
Wow. Before you smash the over, make sure you smash the subscribe button to Undrafted Hoops YouTube channel.
For sure.
Cheap plug. I had to give the cheap plug.
Have to.
Yo, Josh. Look at Coach Pop. Come on, man. Who the fuck gets a one balloon for a podcast? I'm excited. So, with this team, it's kind of hard to figure out what they're going to do because we're all wants to bet him over 40 wins because he's a sick bastard. But if there's a rumor out there that they wanted to go get a guy like CP3, and I know, Josh, you're in love with that idea, right?
Yeah, I think that's a really good fit.
Great idea.
Does a guy like CP3 make them a 40-win team? Like, think about that for a second.
I think it could. If chemistry's got to play itself out, but I think if CP3 is going into that situation, he's going into that situation with a very open mind on what he's going there for. And that's maybe not to win a championship, but he could be the groundwork for, setting up these young players that are the core for the next great teams in San Antonio. And that could mean 40 wins this year, I think. I could see 40 wins happening. It really depends on how Wembanyama translates in his rookie year. Like, is he going to come out here and average 23 a game, or you know what I mean? Or is it going to be this 14 and 12 or something? What are we going to see?
Yeah, that's a good conversation. Give me a realistic stat line. Give me his three most significant stat lines. Say points, rebounds, and blocks.
I feel like it's hard to say because I think that it all depends how Pop decides to run the offense through him, right? Points, rebounds, and blocks. If I'm just saying numbers that he can land on, I would say probably somewhere in the 18 to 9 or 10, and I think he's gonna average over 2 blocks. I think which is a high number in today's league. But I think he'll probably flirt with the 2.5 blocks thing. I think that's the one I feel most confident about.
Yeah, me too. And a lot of it has to do with I think guys are going to challenge him because of his strength, and I think they're going to work to try and get a mismatch with some of the guys. And he's going to find himself in some defensive scenarios where he's got to utilize his length and really try and. Wizards got the 35th pick, Gary, as part of the deal, I guess. I'm going to go out and say he averages over 20 points a game, but I think his rebounds are going to fall in that 7-8 range because I think you're going to see him play above the perimeter a lot, especially in his early go-ahead. I think a lot of his scoring situations are going to be behind the perimeter, and I think it's going to cost them, offensive rebounds and stuff like that. And obviously, defensively, you're going to try and make it a scenario where he's not in the paint. Him in the paint isn't going to be great, because of the strength issues. But when he does get challenged, I think that's where his blocks go into that 2.5 block range, just because he's going to be so active defensively. He actually, with his wingspan, I think he could actually eclipse like 1.5 steals a game. And I know that's a bold number, but it all depends what Popovich does.
Right.
Gary, do you think Popovich? Go ahead, Josh. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just going to throw in the thought too, like with Popovich, and I mean, when you really want to jump back, Popovich is kind of the creator of load management. And if you want to look at it from the analytics of how they do these athletes today, they don't just load manage the old guys; they load manage the young guys too. And they might bring him in and only play him 25 minutes a game his rookie year, just because they're like, well, we want to keep you around for 15 years. You know what I mean? Like, let's just ease you into this.
Now, Gary, is 20 points a game? Am I thinking too boldly, or is Josh most likely pushing the right narrative that, yes, Victor's going to be great, but he doesn't have to be great in year one, and they could kind of like ease him into it?
It's really like a mixture of both of your opinions to me. I mean, load management is a real thing. They want to protect the young guys. They're not going to let him go out there and just get beat up if they're not going to plan on truly competing, or they don't believe they're going to be competing to win right away. It's just a development year. But also at the same time, if he can get the minutes, 30 to 34 minutes a night, I think he can average 20, 10, and 3, somewhere in that range, 20 points, 10 rebounds, 3 blocks a game, give
If
or
he's
take
playing over
one way or
30.
the other. Like similar to what Josh said, and the numbers are similar to both. I think it just depends on the minutes for sure.
Yeah.
He's going to be very productive.
It's definitely a good range. I think we're if you take our average, and we're probably in the right range of what to expect from him. I want to touch on the CP3 question I asked. Going back to the beginning of the show, I told you guys that the Spurs have 3 draft picks over the next 2 years, first rounders, and 2 over the next 2 years after that. I think if you draft a guy like Victor and you're one of the worst teams in the league and you're trying to rebuild your roster, you don't want to get too good fast, because you don't want to hurt your other draft picks in the next 2 drafts. You know what I mean? You want to pair a couple young guys with it. But I think the interesting scenario with the Spurs is, and why they might be buyers at this free agency, or at least next year's free agency, when they have a little bit more cap space, is we don't need our draft pick to be top 10, because we have the Toronto pick, we have Atlanta, we have Chicago over the next couple years, and it's like we could fall back on, hey, yes, we won 40 games this year and our pick is now 15th, but we also have the 10th, the 17th, and the 15th, and now they could kind of maneuver themselves where they want. So will you be surprised to see the Spurs actually go out and try and just nab somebody, like, if the right guy comes available, hey, let's pay this vet right now, because over the next 3 years, it's okay to have a guy that can carry the brunt work of the responsibility and not overbear the future of the franchise. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. I mean, they've definitely got the finances for it, the way that's all laid out, because they've got so many of these guys under contract right now. I think it wouldn't hurt their situation. Like you said, you would dip back and not have a top 10 draft pick. I think it gets to a point where they have so many young players, and probably so many young players that they like where they're going with them, that eventually you just like there's a couple years where you probably don't even want to draft so highly, because then you just have too many young not that it's it hurts to have players, but you know what I mean? Eventually you just want to turn those players into extra assets for what you got in-house right now, instead of just stockpiling 15 players that you love.
Yeah, they're kind of in the same spot OKC is. Obviously, OKC already has their star player in Shea Gilgeous, where San Antonio is just getting their star player. But in this new age NBA where teams are stockpiling picks and trying to build a team with these draft picks, but like you said, you can't have 9 guys in the last 3 drafts. Like it's now it becomes, those guys have to learn how to win eventually. Do you think a team like the Thunder or a team like the Spurs eventually, once they get their core group of like 2 or 3 guys, say 3 guys, they say, fuck it, we're going to put 5 picks together and go get X or Y. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I think it's likely just the way that that seems like an approach that's been adopted kind of since the Warriors situation. Really is kind of what kind of created that blueprint of let's build out like our core of our top 2, maybe even 3 stars, and then let's just add a final piece that just stamps it home. And like this is a surefire.
Toronto Raptors.
Yeah,
Josh, the Toronto Raptors. They had their they
got Kawhi, and then right,
boom.
Yeah.
Or are we trending in the direction of Golden State? They built through the draft and added a bunch of cooler veteran players. Denver Nuggets built through the draft, added a piece or 2, free agent that they liked, a role player or 2, and boom, NBA champions. Everybody under the age of 28, just like when Golden State won the championship. Everybody was under the age of 28. I think with this new wave of stockpiling assets, the San Antonio Spurs have cemented themselves as one of the promising young teams. It's funny to say that after – think about it. We just talked about the Charlotte Hornets. They have the number 2 pick, and they are worlds apart from San Antonio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm locked in on the Spurs. We just went over 38-minute mark. Obviously, we got a little derailed with the breaking news of the trades, and I'm going to dive into that as soon as this show's over. Anything else you guys wanted to touch on from San Antonio, or do you think we covered a little bit of their all season?
I think for the most part we covered everything, but I think their futures looks really good. As opposed to our last show talking about Charlotte and them still trying to figure out a direction. I think the Spurs within 5 years, maybe less, will be a top 4 seed in the Western Conference. I believe in Popovich. There's rumors, which I'm sure everyone's probably heard, that he's about to sign that extension for another 2 or 3 years, which is no surprise. You're about to get.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I read something where he was going to sign like $13 million a year extension. He could thank Monty Williams for raising the bar, but yeah, I'll find it and send it to you.
I guess they just hand him a blank check every year.
You might. You got to. Best coach in the world
at this point, especially. Yeah.
Yeah, like you tell us when you want to take your suit coat off. You know what I mean?
He wants to be back now.
You need to have him teach Wemby for a couple years before he goes.
Well, Gary, I'm going to say peace out to you. I'm going to ask closing argument from Josh here. Appreciate you, dog. My man, Josh. I'm really happy we got to do our doubleheader tonight. I've been begging you to come on the shows, but this is my first time to face-to-face to say I appreciate all the producing you've put into these shows. If you've watched any of our previous shows, this handsome lad right here is the brains behind it. He's been the producer. He's put together these great graphics, and we're really trying to get better. So if you have been watching to this point, we're doing everything we can to get better. And a lot of it, I have to say, my man, thank you. I really appreciate you for taking my vision and saying, this is our vision. You just don't know it yet. And I want to say thank you for that.
Thanks, man. I appreciate the kind words. And without being as long-winded, I'll just say the same is reciprocated back. And I appreciate you just as much for all the stuff we put into this. So onward and upward. Voice crack. Onward and upward, and we're gonna keep this thing going. I'm excited to do more shows in the future.
Good, man. Yo, brick by brick, brother.
That's right, brick by brick.
My man. So, yeah, I appreciate everybody. If you watch both shows, I don't know what I got to say, but all I know is thank you. Facebook and Twitter, bang, undrafted hoops _. Smash the subscribe button on YouTube. Please, if you truly enjoy this show, please share it. If we pull 1 or 2 followers or subscriptions from your friends, you don't know how much that means to us. We really do value anybody that takes the time to support us and gives their constructive opinion, especially if you haven't checked out our Facebook series. Josh put together this comparable of Nikola Jokic and other great big men of all time. And we're not comparing them in sense of who is better, but we're comparing them to where Jokic is in his career and where other guys were at his stage of his career. And it's been very fun. It's been great for us for reach. So if you haven't checked it out, make sure you go to our Facebook page, check it out. He's got a series of 10 or 12 guys that we've done, and it's brought great constructive opinions and some actually awful opinions. But we value them just as much as the constructive ones. And I honestly want to say thank you and appreciate everybody. It's your boy JB signing out, Undrafted Hoops. Fuck the Celtics. Don't think I forgot.